What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now this time we will take a look at the trench coat version of Bane from the Dark Knight trilogy. Now this is a gold label figure, and he was actually rumored to be released a couple of months back, maybe almost a year ago. So it's been a while that we kind of knew this figure was going to come, but nobody had any idea of what it would actually look like. Now there is kind of an interesting story of how I picked this figure up, and that is because the only way to acquire him was to get him in a bundle from the McFarlane toy store, but wasn't really a big fan of that, ghost Joker. I kind of do want the bank robber Joker, but I can hold off on that. And if you didn't get a chance to go to San Diego Comic-Con, that was the only other place where they were selling this one. I think it was $30 there at the show. But what ended up happening for me was something actually pretty interesting, and that was that I had ordered a Batman and a Joker from the Dark Knight trilogy wave. Reason being is because, of course, I already bought them to open them up, but I wanted to buy another set to have mint in box. So basically what happened is, after a couple of weeks of not hearing from them, they did contact me via email, and they said that the Joker one was ready to ship, but the Batman version was actually had a damaged box, and if I still wanted it, or if I wanted a refund or to pick another figure. Now, around this time I was noticing that those two figures were actually becoming kind of scarce and going up in price. So I told them to go ahead and just send me the Batman one. I didn't really care if it was damaged, and I waited a couple of other weeks, and they actually said that they would ship them out, but another 2 weeks later, and I did not hear anything again. So I actually emailed them asking what was up with the shipment, and now they told me that the Batman one, they didn't have one. They only had the Joker, and if I wanted just that one, they could send it to me, or I could pick another figure to replace the Batman one, or just get my money reimbursed. So I told them it would be cool if they sent me the trench coat Bane instead of the Batman, because I knew that they had them in stock. But once again, they were selling it in a bundle with the other two figures. So I knew it was a long shot, and I waited. Well, they did answer me, but they did say that sorry, but they do not, separate the bundles because they all come in a certain quantity. I was like, it's fine, just send me the Joker and reimburse me my money. And it's not a big deal. It's just been like over a month, and I want to just, get this order out of the way. That way I could go ahead and find a Batman on my own, in the secondary market, and not have to worry about it. So I just left it at that, and, just waited to see what would happen. Well, surprisingly, they sent me a message that said, your order has shipped. But I didn't know what order, because they told me that they didn't have, the Batman figure, the Bale figure, and just the Joker. So I waited. The box showed up. I opened it up, and surprisingly what it was the trench coat Bane and the Joker that I had originally ordered, which I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Now they did put that note that, sometimes they put in their packages, and it says that sometimes the boxes get messed up, and they find a way to get us an extra figure. That's basically what they said. But the box was in mint condition. There was nothing wrong with it at all. So I thought that was pretty cool of them. They did send me the trench coat Bane, and it only cost me $25, which was the price of the Batman figure. And since then, I have actually picked up a Batman, and I have my whole Dark Knight trilogy set to keep in my mint inbox collection. So I thought that was pretty cool of them. They did send me just the trench coat Bane, which they said that they would not do, but they ended up doing it. So instead of having a story where my customer service with McFarlane was really bad, it was actually pretty cool, even though it took a little bit of time, and I actually got something that a lot of people have not gotten that didn't go to San Diego Comic-Con or didn't order the bundle, and I was pretty happy that McFarlane Toys sent me just the Bane. Now he does look pretty poofy in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. Well, I can't say he comes with a stand, and I can't say he comes with a card because he does not come with either. And that pretty much comes down to, I have told you guys before that each figure, they pretty much give it like a pie chart or, like a certain budget. And once that budget goes, they start taking away things like paint and another accessory because the figure, either the mold was too much or they already have an accessory, and all that money builds up to where they have to take out certain things to make the figure profitable for them. Now, I do honestly think that they should have at least added 2 alternate hands. It doesn't matter if they would have lost, a couple bucks on each figure. I think they should have added at least 2 extra hands. They didn't have to add all the hands that they did, but they could have added at least 2 because this guy only comes with fist. And usually when he has his trench coat, it's more like when he's doing the speeches and stuff like that. So I think they should have really given him the gesturing hands and the fist, and that at least would have been something. Now this kind of isn't cool because, NY Backyard Legend and my boy Botan, they collect the cards. So when they get a figure, they're pretty happy to, add the card to their collection. And it kind of blows because now this figure has no card. I mean, on the back of the box, they have that image where that's probably what the card would have looked like. And just pretty sad that they didn't even add the card or the stand. I mean, it is what it is. They did probably spend a lot of their budget just on this soft goods coat. So I kind of do understand, but I do understand also that a lot of collectors not really happy with that decision. But it is what it is. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at them. Now, honestly, when I saw the first images of this, gotta say, wasn't too happy about it because first off, I'm not a big fan of cloth capes or soft goods. I just think in this scale, they look a little bit too like cumbersome or like, just how it looks like oversized. I think cloth goods are really good for figures that are like a little bit bigger than this because you have enough room to like make it fit the figure and it looks nice and clean and streamlined. And usually when they do it for smaller figures, it just doesn't look right. And that was the first thoughts I had when I saw this, that, I mean, it's a good attempt, but like the sleeves, you could see how they're really bunched up. And the white part of the coat just like really sticks out a lot. It like, I think it like overtakes the whole makeup of the figure. I mean, it just sticks out really, and it's really white, which in the movie we know that it's kind of like dirty, like almost yellowish or tan colored. At least dirtied up a little bit, but it's not so, pristine white. I mean, in hand, it's okay. I have seen some aftermarket jackets that look really good. Now, if this is the one that McFarlane would have shown, I would have been like, oh yeah, that looks really good. It's like really streamlined and fits really close to the figure, but this one is just a little bit oversized. It's missing some details, like it doesn't have any buckles here on the left side of the coat, and it doesn't have the pouches, the pockets that it has. On the back you do have a split and you have more stitch work, and they had a good attempt. I know these were not cheap to make, so that's why the figure basically comes with nothing, but for my eye and for my preference, I just not really a big fan of this. Like I said before, he came only with 2 fists, and usually when Bane has this coat in the movie, he's giving like a speech or whatever. So, I mean, you can pop these off really easy. And if you have the hands that came with the other Bane, I mean, you could easily put them on this one. It's not a big deal. If you take off the coat, you can pull this off. I think just the bad part is his fist comes off. But you can get it off pretty simply. It's not too hard. Like I said, a nice coat, nice try, but I just don't think that this scale really lends itself to soft goods for some reason. Even capes, like I'll like a cape depending on how it's done, but sometimes they can feel a little bit like non-form fitting, if that makes any sense. Just too cumbersome to be on a figure like of this scale. Now, of course, underneath you do have just the regular Bane that we got. I'm not sure if there's any differences. I do have my custom one that I completely repainted. And actually, this one, as you can see, he's like soft in the midsection. And mine, I went ahead and made him solid just to give him some heft, some weight. Plus, I added all the paint details and a little bit of like washes to the skin tone. I have a whole video on what I did with this figure. So I do already have one for my shelf like this, you know, without the coat. But of course, what I wanted was more of a just a plastic coat like the way Mattel did theirs. And I did get it, you know, I did see this on some video where the guy just basically threw the coat on the figure, but he didn't paint it and he didn't really like do a lot of work to it, but he just gave, you know, the idea of what you could do to make your own version of the coated Bane. If you put these together, there's not really that much of difference. Mine's a little bit shorter because I pushed them down when I made that solid midsection, but just the boots are a little bit more glossy. Can't really tell any much difference besides that. But now I have two Banes, you know, just like that. And of course, here's my version of the jacketed Bane. Now I gave mine, you know, the hands that he needs to give all his, you know, speeches. And really happy with mine. Now I did get this from using the coat from Endless Winter Batman. Now I did have to modify it a lot, and I'll try and explain it as best I can. First off, I had to heat it up and kind of stretch it. If you put them next to each other, you could see how the Bane looks kind of wider, like his back just looks, you know, a lot thicker. And that is because I had to stretch the coat to make it actually fit where the holes for the shoulders matched up with the sockets, you know, for the arms. Now, this Bane, I actually bought it on eBay, and it was missing the arms. He only had the hands, the body, and the head, but he didn't have the actual arms. And I think it cost me $28, and I kind of bought it knowing that I was going to try and do this and that I wouldn't need the arms actually. So the arms I actually got from the Penguin from the Batman. And you could, you know, I'll put them next to each other so you can see how that looks. But these are the arms from him. I didn't have to modify them. They actually fit right into the socket. Now he still retains articulation at the shoulder, at the elbows. I gave him kind of like a dirty brown wash, and I added my own details. I added, you know, the buckles, like I say, on this side, and also I added the pockets. Now, I made the actual pockets from the lower part of the jacket because if you put them next to the Endless Winter Batman, you could see that the jacket is actually longer. So all that extra that I cut off from the bottom is actually what I used to make the pockets. So that kind of worked out in my favor. I just added like some little pieces of fodder to make buttons and set it up the way I wanted it. Now, it wasn't as simple as just swapping the coat. Like I said, I had to stretch it. I cut the collar to kind of stand it up a little bit so it wouldn't be laying flat. And then I had to actually make pieces to fit where the belt used to be because it was just a gap. And then the bottom was just cut off like flat. So I actually had to cut off the bottom of the Endless Winter coat, just the furry part, and then glue it onto the flat end to make it like a whole piece without having any choppy, you know, cutoffs or anything like that. It wasn't as easy as it seems, but I did get it done. I am happy with it. He looks good. I actually, inside under the coat, I gave him his own little distinctive paint. Didn't want to just match what I did with my custom one, so I had a little bit more military green, but still added the brass and all the silver to the buckles. But all in all, he came out really good. I'm really happy with him. Uh, more happy with this one than I actually am with the coat from McFarlane. Um, I am thinking of actually making the Bane where he's like under the sewers where he doesn't have a shirt. So I got my own idea, and I might end up using this Bane, or I could end up buying another one if I could find it cheap online, and then make a shirtless Bane, which I kind of want to do because that is a version that Mattel gave us and is actually a part of the movie. So I'm interested in checking that out. I'm really happy with mine. Before we go, let's go ahead and bring out the, Christian Bale Batman. Put him, next to this Bane. Now, I have heard people talking about how this Bane is a little bit taller than the Batman, and that they should actually be the same size because Tom Hardy isn't that tall. But I kind of disagree with that because the way they shoot Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, they always have him kind of, up a little bit. And I think that's kind of to show you that he's actually bigger. Even though the actor isn't tall, the character is supposed to be tall. So that's why a lot of shots they kind of show him, from a lower angle. When he rips off that guy's face, do you feel in charge? They kind of show him like really tall compared to that guy. Even when they meet up at the end where Batman and Bane meet up, although they're kind of like eye to eye, Bane is a little bit higher than him, but I think it's because they're like on some steps. But I think altogether this was to show that Bane was actually bigger than Batman, even though we know that the actor wasn't that tall. But the size next to each other doesn't really bother me at all. It actually works for me because I always wanted a beefy, bigger Bane. So for me, all of this actually worked out pretty well. But that's my custom coat Bane. I think it came out pretty good, but you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Fat Man.